fucking love young women. Fucking love young women.
And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both fucked Aaliyah.
Not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man. This is not about music.
I think he was an acceptable monster at the time. R. Kelly was the first corporately sponsored pedophile in the United States.
The age of consent in California was already 18 by that point in time, and teen marriages weren't as common as you would think. Chaplin got around the sticky situation by exploiting one of the many legal loopholes in the US justice system that allowed adults to marry minors, which includes a parent or judge providing consent, or the underage person becoming pregnant by said adult. Strategies which are still employed by predators today. Harris's pregnancy turned out to be a false alarm, and Chaplin started to believe that she had tricked him into marrying her, which soured their relationship, with Chaplin frequently criticizing her acting abilities and intelligence. The latter criticism is rather duplicitous because from the very beginning, he and Harris weren't intellectual equals, which for many predators is actually the main appeal, with Elizabeth Shaw, a clinical and counseling psychologist, saying, quote, "At their worst, an age gap relationship can be a predatory relationship where the investment doesn't come from a clean place. It's like, I've got this much younger person who I can mold who might be under my thumb a bit, and in fact, I can direct what they do. Their vulnerability developmentally can mean I have more power over them." Although the US government considers anyone over the age of 18 a legal adult, science doesn't agree. Numerous studies have shown that the human brain doesn't reach full development until your mid to late 20s, with the prefrontal cortex being one of the last parts to mature. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for a multitude of complex functions, including impulse control, future planning, attention, communication, fear modulation, empathy, insight, moral awareness, and intuition. Because the prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed before the age of 25, people younger than that process information with their amygdala, which is more emotional than logical. Obviously, that doesn't mean that every single decision a teenager makes is illogical and invalid, but it does mean that adults have a responsibility to help them make informed choices that won't cause lasting harm.
So as you can see, this kind of phenomenon was going on in the early 1900s. And what I found pretty interesting is when I was looking up Chaplin's childhood, it reads, in London, he grew up in poverty and hardship. His father was absent and his mother struggled financially. He was sent to a workhouse twice before age 9. When he was 14, his mother was committed to an institution. Pause to read the rest. This bit of information will be important to the dialogue as we go along in this conversation.
Fucking love young women.
Hugh Hefner opened the door for the sexual revolution. I will agree.
He represents, for this woman here, freedom. But Playboy has its dark side.
There was a secret world. Playboy was all about powerful men preying on beautiful young women.
Sandra's story and that of many other former playmates and bunnies, colleagues and friends, part of a new docuseries from A&E, Secrets of Playboy, re-examining the controversial legacy of Hugh Hefner, who died in 2017.
I really wasn't aware of the bigger allegations that are in this series when I began my research. I was really just wanting to ask the women of Playboy to talk to me about their experiences in a really open, honest way. When you talk about the legacy of Playboy, it's really mixed. And I wanted to be very honest about that, because Playboy was a progressive beacon from the 50s onwards. Sandra Theodore is the interview that changed everything for me. And she's the reason that we will completely reframe how we see Hefner in Playboy.
Theodore and Hefner dated for 5 years. She was a playmate and centerfold, but she says as the years went on, the control became overwhelming.
I was followed in the beginning and later. I could not be out having an evening for myself. I didn't have my own money. He kept me away from other people. When we would go out together, we were treated like royalty. So that kept me thinking, okay, well, if everyone thinks he's so wonderful, then it must be me.
Life with Hefner, she says, pushed to a breaking point.
The drugs fueled how many people you could get in your bed. And then all of a sudden there's 3 of us. And 3 girls became 5. And it got ridiculous.
You also describe him as being a voyeur, and there were times when other men were brought into the situation. Did you, in your mind, give consent to having sex with those other men?
No, I hated it. I never wanted any of that.
Wait a minute, hold the phone. So you mean in the 1900s, they were getting with and grooming underage girls? Then in the 50s and 60s, only to induce their sexual activity with drugs. But isn't it interesting how in Cassie's civil suit against Diddy, she alleged the consistent use of drugs to coerce her into sexual acts that she did not consent to? Do you see the pattern here? Underage girls, men with power, or people with power, and substance abuse.
Licking my lip. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yo, Diddy, you gave me the ooshka smash. You gave me the ooshka smuaf. The smooth smash. Diddy. Yeah, son. You know what I mean? You gave me the ooshka smuash. I love it, yo. I love it.
Remember when Raz B came out about his experiences and how he was just dismissed by many and called crazy? I remember watching that myself, and even though I personally am not a psychologist, I could tell that something happened to that young man. But everyone around him, especially the people who he accused of being perpetrators, went ahead and dismissed him. The age-old deflection technique of calling it a power grab or a money grab or a cry for attention.
I don't got nothing against you. I don't got nothing against the boys, but like Fizz still to this day never said sorry. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's never really said, Raz, I really got your back, thank you, because you know what, me and Boog was in a room together. Chris Stokes put us in a room together and made us do stuff together. You feel me? Me and Jarrell Houston. So it's like I've been protecting people for a long time. I have nothing to lose. I have no one to fear, and it's tacky. And I don't give a fuck about B2K. Fuck B2K. You know what I'm saying? I am B2K. And if shit ever gonna get right, niggas is gonna have to come clean. Cause you're not gonna sweep anything under the rug. I was molested by Chris Stokes and Mark Houston, and that's the truth. Period.
And that's the truth, and you can say that. So I just think it gets kind of messy when you got to put other people's truth out there. I don't think that's your place to judge other people.
Well, my truth is the fact that Chris Stokes had me and Jarrell Houston in a room sucking each other's dicks.
Again and again, he called you a pedophile, and that is respond to Raz B calling you a pedophile. Speak on that.
It was a big joke to me. Like, you know, and if you think about it, if you think about the time frames when this guy starts up, it's always around my album coming out, my album release, and now my movie release is coming out. So he's talking more and he's lying, but it's all lies. It's all BS, and you know, I mean, he just
these opportunities. You're saying like he only talks when you're about to drop something.
He jumps on the fact of he's an attention whore, you know, and he wants that attention because B2K was huge. Everybody know how huge B2K was, yeah. And it's like when something like that is stripped from you, and then you can't get any fame, you know, you go to the extreme measures, and the dude he's psycho. So.
He's psycho, right? You know, whenever I see this level of an age gap and I look at the older person, I always ask, what is the older person, aka the groomer, really hiding? But another important point that many people don't realize is at one point, Omarion unofficially confirms what Raz B said.
Okay, with the Chris Stokes allegations, Yes.
What is your take on that?
In reference to what?
Well, I mean, he claimed that he was molested by Chris Stokes and everything else like that.
Right. Which
it's always been denied by all the other parties involved. There was never any proof, but he kept saying it over and over again.
Yeah, I definitely think something happened to him. You know, I don't know what happened to him, but I think something happened to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Between him and Chris, or him and other people?
I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's I don't think it's for me to really, you know, say whether or not, you know, anything happened. I didn't see anything happen, you know. So I don't know. You know, I can't speak facts. That's what I like to speak on. So I like to speak facts. So I don't know, but I feel like, you know, the way that he responds to certain things, something traumatic has definitely happened. So
Sounds like Omarion is holding back from telling all he knows. But he did say something very interesting. He said that you can tell that he has been traumatized. The effects that these grooming and predatory behaviors have on their victims is insurmountable. In my research, I was reading an article where a writer divulged her experience with being groomed. In big bold letters, she says, "I was groomed and subsequently taken advantage of by an adult male. The entire relationship set my life on a trajectory for continuing to allow myself to experience sexual assault and tolerate other inappropriate behaviors, all in all, in an effort to feel loved, wanted, and appreciated." Could this also be the reason why we see such an over-sexualized culture in music and movies today, especially genres that represent people of color, because of predatory behaviors in the industry and beyond? Could this be the energy and the karma of that coming back to haunt our very society? Because many times people will blame the groomed for how they become and what they become. But science proves to us that once a person is taken advantage of, this could cause them to have stunted growth, low impulse control, and many other malignancies occur from being groomed, preyed upon, and sexually exploited. And we have evidence of grooming and predatory behavior dating all the way back to the early 1900s. Elvis, the proclaimed king of rock and roll, even started to develop a romantic relationship with his wife Priscilla at the age of 14, and nobody batted an eye.
I want to go ahead and put this message for the ladies is going to be right on time, because a lot of the ladies have communicated they're running into brothers that are straight up, you know, manipulating them. And I mean, from the stories that I'm hearing from women losing money, just giving their money away to these brothers, just giving their body away very quickly to the brothers. And the way that the thing is happening, and these are women that's saying that they want marriage and these different things, it's not adding up.
Right. Let me say, the book on what a woman gonna do haven't been written yet. The book on what a woman gonna do haven't been written yet. So, I mean, I don't think nobody come out their mother womb a hoe or a prostitute. Most of the things that we experience in life are environmental, and it's connected to environmental pressure. You know, and then you got to look at trauma too, and post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of women that usually enter into certain lifestyles, promiscuous or prostitution and so on and so forth, they are generally women who probably, more than likely, probably been raped by a father or uncle or cousin or so they begin to believe
fucking love young women.
Have what they would call a virgin marriage, you know, because somebody took their virginity. And typically when that happens, it happens over a succession or a period of time, and it causes them to be psychologically deranged.
Yeah, I know y'all see him over there, Mr. Fucking Love Young Women. The unfortunate part about these groomers is they do not realize while they are enjoying being able to mold another human being and exercise godlike powers over that human being, what they are doing is they are causing this person to not develop naturally and normally, and it's causing them to have mental, emotional, and psychological issues. So oftentimes we don't necessarily make the link between the women who they call 304s out here, or the young men that they say are on drugs or exhibiting high-risk behavior. We don't make the connection of what kind of trauma they could actually be dealing with. In an article in Psychology Today, it says that abuse survivors also have an increased risk of having substance abuse issues and engaging in unsafe sexual behaviors. Survivors could also struggle with trust issues in the aftermath of abuse, which can make a person at best jumpy and judgmental, at worst suspicious and accusatory. All qualities that make happy, mutually fulfilling relationships a struggle in the future. Although I was cringing every moment as I was researching, I wanted to know what the mind of these predators were like, just enough to be aware of it. And it seems that there's a preoccupation with sex, according to an article published in Psychology Today, also featured on PubMed, and confused about the sexes and bothered by their own sexuality, which is very interesting. Now you can pause to read the full clip, but psychologists have found a linkage between predators preying on people having been preyed on in their childhood themselves. It says estimates of incidents of childhood sexual abuse and pedophilia range from 40% up to 100%. Female offenders might have an even higher incidence of childhood sexual abuse. They also attribute such behavior to having low impulse control and not having fully developed the amygdala of their brain, even though they are adult aged. They also attribute it to certain personality disorders such as narcissism. Do you all remember when Michael Jackson was accused of such behavior? Well, new allegations are coming out about his childhood, which doesn't sound too far-fetched to me.
Several coincidences in Michael's life that made people question if he went through abuse. And one of those was the closeness that Michael Jackson had with accused pedophile Johnny Kitagawa. Now, Johnny Kitagawa was a legendary J-pop talent manager. I mean, he to the Japanese was what Clive Davis is to us in the US. Well, Michael Jackson worked and hung around Johnny Kitagawa. And at first, nobody thought anything about this connection, but in 1999, two Japanese magazines printed interviews of two young Asian men saying that Johnny Kitagawa had molested him when they were younger and singing for him in a boy band. More and more accusers started to come out saying that Johnny Kitagawa did something to them. Now, as Johnny Kitagawa started to get more eyes on him and people started to dig more into his past, they discovered a very disturbing tie to Michael Jackson. And what they discovered is that when Michael first met Johnny Kitagawa, he was only 14 years old, the same age that a lot of those young Asian men said that they were when Johnny first started coming onto them.
Reportedly, 86% of these types of crimes never go reported because they are usually done by someone who the victim knows. And most of the time, the men don't even report at all. But this is the dawn of a new day. And clearly, men are speaking out and speaking their truth about the traumas they experience at the hands of predatory men and women. Remember when I told you guys to pay attention to what happened to Charlie Chaplin? How his mother actually was committed for mental illness at the age of 14? at the age of 14 could have absolutely been the ending of where his emotional growth ended. We could assume, and we would be right to assume, that he was frozen at the age of where his emotional trauma actually began. While it may not be the cause of why he was interested in dating and grooming underage women, it can give some sort of correlation to the reason why those women were his equivalent, and those women made him feel powerful and manly, because something was missing, something wasn't right. And obviously, without parental guidance and a father around, he was left to figure out things on his own and fend for himself. While in the public eye, he seems to be faring well, but something was missing. I cannot say that I empathize with any kind of predator, but obviously their brains were colonized before they decided to colonize someone else's mind and turn them against themselves. It is just sad that so many hurt people hurt people. So for anyone who is in need of help or may suspect something for a child or someone young, here is a wonderful website to gain insight and information, and that information is also in the description box, and the website is called Darkness to Light. You also see the number at the bottom of the screen, and if anyone you know needs it, definitely pass it along to them. These kinds of things are very difficult. They're filled with a lot of shame, a lot of stigma in society. And, you know, we have to protect our children. We have to guide them in the proper way, and we have to keep them as safe as possible. And some grown children who are mentally and emotionally sick out here don't know the difference between them and a child. And it is unfortunate, but that is the way that it is. And so I wanted to make this video to address such a phenomenon and to wish everyone happy healing and health. Peace.